Dr. York was supposed to have put an end to Islam for black people. I'm going to say it again. When Dr. Malachi Z. York came on the scene and did 20 years of Ansar Allah, Islam, that was supposed to be the door closing to a history of about 100 years roughly of Islam for our people. Free will Islam, I should say. The Islam where it was independent of the Arabs when we were forced into it in Africa by way of slavery under the Arabs, the white Arabs. That should have ended Islam for black people, and we should have been moving on to something else. Reason being is because no man was as prolific as Dr. York. I'm just patting him on the back and opening this broadcast up. No man was as prolific as Dr. York was in writing books on Islam, Christianity, Judaism, all religions, but especially Islam, being that he lived in it for over 20 years. Had the Ansar Allah community set up, and I was with him, studying the teachings when he walked out of Islam. That should have been the nail in the coffin of Islam for black people when he wrote that big phone book of information on Islam and started debunking Islam. That should have been it for our people, right? Because Islam was exposed to our people through Freemasonry. All the men that brought us Islam, from Noble Drew Ali to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to Fard or whoever, to Dr. Malachi Z. York, were all Masons. Dr. York was the first one to obviously actually admit it. Not that it was a big secret, but Masons take a thing to hide, oath to hide their affiliation, or used to. Now Masons, they show their hand, but the Islam that was shown to us was influenced heavily by Freemasonry, because there's only two types of Islam. There's the Islam that's influenced or taught by way of Freemasonry, and then there's the so-called Orthodox Sunni Islam, or the Islam they follow within the Middle East. And we definitely wasn't following that under Noble Drew Ali. We had the Moorish Science Temple, right? And they were Masons. The name Noble is a Masonic title. Same way Honorable, that was on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's title, and Master, that was on Master Fard Muhammad's name, was a Masonic title. So we got this knowledge of Islam, a free knowledge of Islam, from these schools, from these schools of thought. And their emblems and the symbols they wore and the titles they wore in their name proved that. A lot of people want to bury their head in the sand and act like, oh, that's not what it is. And yes, it is. Yes, it is. Most of the people that came and, a lot of people that came out of the Moorish Science Temple, some of them went into the Nation of Islam. Some of them were already Freemasons, so they understood where Elijah was trying to go with it when Noble Drew Ali passed on. Some people say that Fard was a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And that's probably likely. That's likely. Because the fez that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had on in early photos was a Masonic fez, a Moorish Science fez. Right? Moorish Science fez with the star and crescent on it. Right? And then in time, the fez shortened to a little crown on his head, and it picked up more symbols on it of suns, moons, and stars and things of that nature. But the circle 7 Quran that the Moors used, and the symbol of the 7 passed on to the Nation of Islam and passed on to the 5% nation as well. Right? And that was all linked into Freemasonry, because the whole point was to teach the people a free peace, or a free version of submission, or a free peace of mind. Because Islam, one of the titles for the word salam is peace. All say to the word Islam means submission. Right? But it wasn't supposed to be submission to a religion. Right? It was supposed to be something to center yourself, to put you under submission, or put you in a state or peaceful state of mind. Because we were in a chaotic state of mind here in the society, under racism, under Christianity, under all the things that we were going through here with this black and white dynamic. So Islam was supposed to be used as a tool, right? It was supposed to be used as a tool to bring our people a royal mindset, people first mindset, a structure, a government. That was the whole point of it. Islam was never taught in the East as being governmental, as it was taught to us in the West by people like the Noble Drew Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Dr. Malachi Z. York. See, because they built organizations and movements, something that Islam in the East is not structured on. The Islam that they taught here in the West was structured on government, was structured on principles and things like that, certain ways of governing yourself and making yourself a better person. Same principles as Freemasonry, making a better man, right? But, when our people left off of, Freemasonry, because it was a lot of racism in Freemasonry. You had the Prince Hall Masons and, these people, they like the black version of the Masons and whatnot, the colored section again. People like Noble Drew Ali and them were wise enough to look back at the Moorish past and things like that and was able to link it up with Freemasonry and take it further into teaching our people where, there wasn't that black and white dynamic yet. Because when you deal with the Masonic lodges, there's still that black-white dynamic there, right? And in teaching our people Islam, it was supposed to make us more of an exclusive group of people, because we needed that time in a teaching that would elevate our minds, elevate us about ourselves. Even teaching us about God, right, as a man was an elevation for us. But a lot of our people didn't see it. It was supposed to evolve or elevate us mentally to becoming supreme people or supreme beings. That's what the language meant. Man is God. God is a man. The black man is God. All of that followed out, and it pretty much stayed pristine and in that state from Noble Drew Ali to Dr. Malachi Z. York. They all said the same thing, that the black man is God, or that man is God. They said this. It was all meant to straighten us out, clean us up, fix us up, give us codes of conduct and principles to live by and govern ourselves and our lives by. That's what the whole point of that was. But a lot of people miss that now, right? We're going to talk about that tonight. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkarayzz, and this is State of Mental Radio, and tonight we're talking about the real reason why our people were taught Islam in this society in America. See, because we weren't exposed, like I said, to the orthodox form of Islam early. We didn't get into that until the Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed on, and his son, Wallace D. Muhammad, brought the majority of the Muslims from Islam into, from the Nation of Islam into Bilalianism or Orthodox Sunni Islam. And that's not what his father had intended, obviously, because he could have did that, but he chose not to. I'm going to take a call real quick because I usually don't do it this early in the show, but I'm going to go ahead and take one. 718. 718, you're on the air. Hello? 718.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I pressed the wrong button, Nuben.
Oh, okay. All right. That's okay. All right.
Sorry.
All right. Hold on, let me see.
Right.
Did you have a question?
No, I didn't have no question. I was just listening.
Oh, okay, that's fine. All right.
Sorry. Continue.
No problem. All right. So this was about the evolution of a people, right? This was about our people moving forward. We ended up going the wrong way with these teachings, unfortunately. It wasn't supposed to be about us staying here, right? It wasn't supposed to be about us staying in Islam, obviously, right? We didn't watch the signs and the signals of the people that were coming, or the teachers that were coming in Islam, that would teach us better things or greater things about the intelligence of Islam and the intelligence of God. See, because God always sends man, right? As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, as Noble Drew Ali taught, that God sends man, or that man comes as God. And the purpose of God, a man being a God, is the more wisdom that he has, or the advanced way of thinking that he has to lead the people. That determines who's God. Right? You see the obvious differences in Orthodox Islam and the Islam that was taught, which is really Masonic Islam, Freemasonic Islam, and what we got here in the West. That's why people would always say that, oh, Elijah Muhammad wasn't teaching real Islam. What he meant to say was they wasn't teaching Orthodox Islam, which is not necessarily so-called real Islam. It's not. That's just somebody's customs and things. That's just Arab customs and traditions. It has nothing to do with the intelligence of God. They were teaching Islam from an intelligence level dealing with God, not from customs of men. This is what people miss. This is what the people in the Nation of Islam missed when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed on, and they ran right into Sunni Islam because they felt they were getting real Islam. They got stuck on the customs of the Arabs, and they didn't understand the intelligence that was being shared with them that made them better people, that cleaned them up. That was the wisdom and the power of God in a man, or coming through a man. But they got caught up on the word Islam, and they got caught up in the religion part. Right? They started focusing on the religion. Right? Noble Drew Ali and these people, like I said, everything about them was dealing with trying to establish a government, a society, a system. Right? Now, the only people that established a society or government and system after the order of God was our people in ancient Egypt, in Sumeria, and Nubia. We established orders in that under God, which is what America does today. That's all Freemasonry, establishing governments or orders or systems in the name of God, in the name of a people, in the name of a people moving collectively forward. Right? Not people who were caught in following customs and religious practices. That was the breakdown between church and state that I gave before. Why the church people, they believe in God, and the state people, the people in the state, or the people in government who are trying to form a government or a nation or a state to God, these are the people who acknowledge God. But people got it twisted. They got it mixed up. We were supposed to be going through this evolution where we received peace, right? Because I said Islam, or the word salam, means peace and submission. We had to get twofold of intelligence from God. We had to receive peace first by way of Islam, aka peace, and then we had to receive the mind. We were going into peace of mind because in order for you, the whole purpose of you receiving peace of mind, I know they say P-I-E-C-E, but it's actually P-E-A-C-E. Phonetically, it's the same thing, but peace of mind means peace within your mind, or not being at war within yourself or within your environment. Peace. Right? What are our people always famous for saying? Peace to each other. Right? They mean peace, not being at war with each other, not being at fighting with each other, being in a peaceful state. Right? Being in a brotherly or sisterly or welcoming state. Reason why that was necessary in teaching that within a doctrine like Islam was to steady the minds of our people. Islam was meant to be our form of meditation, a life form of meditation for a time period. What do I mean by that? In order for you to receive the intelligence of God, your mind has to be at peace, does it not? Your mind has to be at peace. And Islam, or steadying your mind or disciplining your mind and using Islam, was that tool that Noble Drew Ali used, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad used, and that Dr. Malachi Z. York used. They used it as tools to steady the minds and give our people peace in the mind, brotherhood, sisterhood, family. You understand? That was the whole purpose of it. Salam, peace. Salam alaikum, peace be unto you. Right? We had to get the peace first within ourselves and within our minds and within our environment in order to receive the mind. Because what did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad follow up and say after? He said that our people were mentally dead. After he taught Islam, he said our people were mentally dead. So that meant that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad started focusing on the way our people thought within Islam. It would have been easier just to give our people rituals and customs and things like that the Arabs followed, but our people couldn't live by that. He realized that. Our people needed more to make them whole than just a religion. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, I didn't come to teach a religion. You understand? He said, I didn't come to teach my people a religion. Noble Drew Ali, like I said, influenced the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So they were following out as an evolution toward God, toward the intelligence of God by teaching Islam. People want to make it about Noble Drew Ali. People want to make it about Master Fard Muhammad. People want to make it about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. People want to make it about Dr. York. It's not about none of those men, because all of those men were supposed to be used as instruments of God, instruments of the true and living God. Right? And who was the true and living God that they followed? People want to say Allah. Allah was actually a cover name for Amen, which was the God of Freemasonry, the true and living God, the hidden name of God. Because when you use names like Allah, Yahweh Shai, or El, or whatever, these are all cover names for God's true hidden name, which is Amen, which is the shape of that compass, or that symbol with the G inside the compass was actually shaped into an A for God, and that A represents the name Amen, not Allah, not Jesus or anything else. Represents Amen as God. Who is Amen? Amen was the God that was worshipped as the king of gods in ancient Egypt, in ancient Nubia, that our people worship, but we gave honor to. I don't like to say worship, but gave honor to as the true and living God. And the Freemasons who idolized the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Nubians, the first builders, the Sumerians, the first builders of ancient societies, they too took up the name Amen. And they camouflaged and hid it throughout religion. That's why you say Amen at the end of your prayers in Islam, in the end of your prayers in Christianity, Judaism, and Buddhism, Masonry. They say Amen, because they acknowledge Amen as God. So if the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was a Freemason, if Noble Drew Ali, who was a Freemason, if all these men were Freemasons, were following the order of Freemasonry, then they acknowledged Amen as God, and they used Allah's name as a cover name. Because the Masons feel that the name Amen is too sacred to be on the tongues of people in regular speech and in regular talk. That's why the name is hidden. And even in the name, meaning of the name going back to ancient Kemet or Egypt, it meant the hidden one. Right? The hidden one. Not that Amen was a spook god or a spirit or whatnot, because our people was the first one to present the image of God as a man. Our people presented the black man as God first in ancient Egypt and Nubia. So the whole idea of God being a man did not come from the Nation of Islam, did not come from Noble Drew, did not come from the Masons. Came from our people in ancient Egypt, because we always put God up as a man, a black man. Right? And it's no coincidence today that when they did the movie, and you see me posting all over Facebook, where I showed Morgan Freeman, they showed Morgan Freeman as God and Bruce Almighty and Evan Almighty. It was no coincidence that they put the black man up as God again. They could have put anybody, any white man up as God, but they put the black man there. And they showed the black man in communication with the white man. God as a black man in communication with the white man, not with the black man. All this is symbolic and means something. Our people don't pay attention because they get caught up in teachings. They get caught up in men. They become personality driven. And they start worrying about Noble Drew Ali and what he taught in that span of time. Like Dr. Malachi Z. York said, Noble Drew Ali came and taught everything he had to teach. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught everything he had to teach. Right? All these men, Dr. York, teaching, winding down on everything he taught. Because everything is supposed to be an evolution to something else. I said that they were leading our people and giving our people, or leading our people from the peace into the peace and into the mind, to be people who had peace of mind. Because the only way you're going to receive intelligence right? From God. The only way you're going to be sent that mindset of that roadmap to becoming God, walking that straight and narrow path, is if you receive intelligence from God. And that can only happen when you are in a peaceful mind state. That can only happen when your mind is at peace. You can't receive intelligence from God when you are in a chaotic state. That's why they push in the society meditation and quietness and things like that, and being in a stationary place to listen to God and all this other thing. Because they understand that we have to communicate. There has to be a reception that's built up. There has to be a tone that's set. Yeah, people om and ah and things like that, and that's a peaceful state where people are doing that in a unison chant or call. That takes a people who have a peace of mind. That peace of mind can only be attained when you are amongst your own people of like minds, governing a movement or society or whatever, which is why they taught that our people had to have a government so that we can be amongst each other and work out our own differences, because they realized that being amongst other races in this country constantly kept our people from being at peace, because we constantly had to fight for a place in a society. But if you are in a society where there's people who just look like you become more at peace. You become more familiar with one another. It's easier for you to become a group, a nation, a movement, collectively, living for, of, and by each other. But see, our people missed that. They took it, and they took the teachings of these men that came through them, not from them, but through them, and they tried to attach it to everything that was earthbound, everything that was terrestrial here. They didn't understand that the teachings of these men were celestial, meaning that they were beyond this world. They were meant to take our people out of this mindset and put us in a supreme mindset to think ahead and above everybody else who governs this world today. But what we did, a lot of our people did, we got caught up in the people and the governments and the things that were going on around us, the white man, religion, Orthodox, and we tried to mimic and mirror these people. We tried to match ourselves up with these people instead of building amongst each other. Peace was supposed to be first. Peace amongst each other. Peace of mind. Because then we would be able to receive the mental connection, the mental evolution. Right? That's what we're providing in the state of mental today. Because we are the second half of that peace teaching that these men came and brought in Islam. Mentellect was meant to be the second half. Mentellect was meant to drive our people from the state of drive our people with a peaceful state of mind into a knowledge that would advance their thinking, which would be mentellect, the true intelligence of God, because you have to be at peace mentally to receive the intelligence of God. Now, I know to a lot of our people, this is talking out of the box. This is not in the lessons. This is not in the degrees. This is not in this. It don't got to be, because it is new. All things going to sound different, funny, whatever you call it. But what you have to judge it by is, does it make sense? Now, if you're stuck in the customs of Noble Drew Ali, if you're stuck in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if you are not thinking forward, because that's what they really taught, and that means you missed the jewels of what they taught. You missed the true jewels in the things they were teaching. You got caught up on the men. You became personality driven. You got caught up on the lessons. You got caught up on the white man. You got caught up on Orthodox Islam. You got caught up on making peace treaties with people, and you can't even get your own house in order. That's what you got caught up on. You missed the whole meaning of why these men brought Islam and taught that. A lot of our people get caught up in the fact, it was just another religion and this, that, and the third. It wasn't about that. It was about governing a people in a peaceful mindset and evolving the minds of the people. But if you miss that jewel in the teachings, then you might as well, that fez on your head means nothing. It means nothing. You missed the point that fez goes all the way back to the Egyptian pharaohs. They had the same fezzes on their head. And that Abu Sambal, in the mountain where George Washington got that idea to carve their faces in Mount Rushmore, where they got the idea from Abu Simbel, you'll see the pharaohs with feathers on their heads, which is where the Moors got the idea from, which is where the Masons got the idea from, which is where the nation got the idea from. You look at the sisters in the MGT, then you look at the queen pharaohs back in ancient Egypt. You see they're wearing the same headdress. Look at the headdress of the sisters, the MGT, right? You look at the MGT and the nation back in the late 60s and the early 70s. The sisters had the big, long head feathers on with MGT on in the 5-pointed star. And you look at what the I don't know if it's Nefertiti or Queen T. It was Nefertiti. Look at the fez she had on her head. It's the same thing. That's not a coincidence. Those sisters were Eastern Stars. The MGT are Eastern Stars. Right? They were all following after the order of something else, after the order of a perfected government that went for over 3,000 years. Egypt, Kemet, Nubia, whatever you want to refer to it as. But a lot of the people in the nation, they want to deny that. You're not men of God if you want to deny the truth. You're not men from God if you're going to deny the truth. That these things were influenced, and all these things are influences of God. The true and living God, Amen. People want to sit up here and say, well, it was Allah and this, that, and the third. Like I said, it was beyond your Islam. Islam was just a tool. Like I said, like you have tools in Freemasonry, right? Dividing rods and things like that. Tools are meant to be symbols. And people miss the symbolism in the tools. You could take all these things out. Islam, you could take out the word Islam, you could take out the word Allah, right? You could take out those things and you can attribute them next to the governing of a people, a supreme being, an advancing or evolution of a people who are becoming supreme, who are becoming God-like in their transformation, a knowledge that is advancing their minds, and you will see that it is all transferable, right? Because all it's talking about when they say Allah as man is talking about a man that's evolving or a woman that's supposed to be evolving with her man, right? A man who is evolving to a state of higher being. You can't come and just be God by nature like they say, and you're still doing the same things. That took time, that took change, that took an evolution, right? Not the same person. You take on certain principles and ideas and things like that to do what? To change you, to evolve you, to stop you from doing the things you were doing before. That's all evolution. God is evolution. God is change. God, the only real thing in the world is change. God is change. God is a man who is constantly changing. And he is constantly sending a teaching that is changing. And about 100 years of Islam, right? Because that's about how much we had of it as free men here in this society when Noble Drew Ali and them came and started teaching it as a free man, not as one who was in bondage to the Arabs, teaching that Orthodox Islam, but as a free man teaching Moorish science, right? And using Islam as a tool to raise the black man up. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the tribe of Shabazz, right? Using Islam to raise the black man up. All the way up to Dr. Malachi York and Ansar Allah, who used Islam as a tool to raise the black man up. You can see it's all lined up into Masonry. You see it. Dr. York ended up, forming a Masonic lodge. Dr. York was always a Mason. Honorable Elijah Muhammad was also always a Mason. Noble Drew Ali was always a Mason. You see them standing on a square with their hand, doing hand signals and things like that. That was meant to lead our people back or lead our people forward into something else. Right? Everything is an outgrowth of something else. Even what we teaching in the state of Mentel is an outgrowth of these men's teachings because it's not about them. It's not their teaching. It's God's teaching. It's Amen's teaching. The true and living God. The one who came in the person of these men who sent messages to these men. A man who was living in the future, walking in and out of earth, because that's what the symbol of the compass represents in Freemasonry. Even where the Israelites use it, where they take the ends off. When you see the G in the divider's rod on Freemasonry, that represents the coming together of two worlds. So above, so below. That means that God is over control of both states, higher and lower, the celestial world and the terrestrial world. That's what that means. That eye over the pyramid represents the third eye, or the mind of God and his watchful eye over the world as a man. They put a physical eye there, not no spiritual eye, not no unseen spook eye, but a man who is moving in real time and out of time, in and out of time, right? Who is more advanced than us, a so-called black man who is advanced to a bright one. This is all about an evolutionary black man, one who's advanced. That can be your son, your grandson, your great-grandson, because this is dealing with an ascension of people. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that when God comes back, or when he comes, he said, I hope to be in his company when he comes. He always spoke about future tense. They were always speaking about the future. Noble Drew Ali spoke about the future. You understand? They always spoke about the future because these men were supposed to be put in their place to shape and help shape the future generation. They wasn't worrying about the past. They was worrying about the future generation, the babies, the ones who were coming behind them. That's how we thought in the past. But we lost that today. Right? That eye represents an eye or a mind between two worlds. One world is supposed to be following the other. This terrestrial world is supposed to be following the celestial world. Right? Not supposed to be separate. There's not supposed to be a separation between the two. That's why the Masons constantly, they put that emblem up of God in between two worlds. And our people miss that. Right? They miss it. They get fragments of the truth, and they don't understand the full message. Our people get bits and pieces because, like I said, you get caught up on the lesson, but you don't understand what they're really saying. You understand that? When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when you had Noble Drew Ali go, and then you had the Honorable Elijah Muhammad come, like I said, cleaned off his face, even down to the look and the dress. All that was representing the evolution in the people. But again, it gets lost on people who become terrestrial in their way of thinking. See, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he talked about being spiritual, right? He used the terminology spiritual, which is really another word for celestial or future intelligent, something that's not physically able to be touched yet, but will be. When you keep your mind in that futuristic mindset, you're talking about things that will be in physical form soon, that you are dictating or you have a vision of the future. When you're describing these things, that's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad meant when he talked about being spiritual, seeing things with a spiritual eye, meaning seeing things, seeing the big picture, seeing the future, not tuning in and focusing on what was going on in the present, because that's where a lot of our people got lost at. But focusing on the future, looking at the bigger picture. You got to understand the language. A lot of our people miss it. That represented the people that were supposed to be looking into the future, not focused on the past, not focused on what was going on in the present, trying to worry about what was going on in the world of mankind, because y'all supposed to be moving on different paths of evolution. The white man is supposed to be moving in a path of evolution within a circle, and you're supposed to be moving on a path of evolution in a linear state, on a line, where you were at a point supposed to just pass them on by. But y'all started trying to move in the same patterns as they moved. You started trying to move in a circular form. That's why y'all talked about ciphers so much and things and nothing being new under the sun. That is the mind of a dead man who says things like that there's nothing new under the sun. But then you say knowledge is infinite, and change is the only thing in the world is change. So how can, if change is the only thing that's real and constant, then that means something new has to come in order to bring change. Because if you're getting the same thing and there's nothing new under the sun, then that means there's no change. So you contradict yourself. That's the people who are cut off mentally from God. That's the people who can't be God in flesh. You understand? Are people who can't. The only difference between us and God, the supreme being, is the mind, the ability to think outside the box, because it's all symbolic about man being able to come into the world and leave the world. Meaning, with us, it's supposed to be us being able to walk inside the box or in the customs or in the walls of things like religion and things like that, and come outside the box, meaning think outside these things to take our people outside to advance them and evolve them. That's the two worlds coming in and out of the world, in the symbolic state, coming in and out of the world. When it talked about God coming into the terrestrial plane and going into the celestial plane, that talked about our people also being able to go inside of things like religion and things our people are trapped in, and pull the people out and think outside of that ourselves as we have a connection with God, who is outside the box, who is constantly sending future intelligence into this atmosphere. That's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad represented. That's what Noble Drew Ali represented, and that's what Dr. Malachi York represented. Men who were in tune with higher intelligence, advanced intelligence that were outside the box of the white man and anyone else. See, we missed that though. The people who were enslaved and forced and had Christianity forced them, they could have never perceived of somebody like a Noble Drew Ali or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So to them, those people would have been considered like, those men like Noble Drew Ali and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would be considered outside the box of what you were forced to learn and think, and how you were limited to think. So these people would be considered outside the box. But now, our people who are coming in the names of these customs of men, they're being forced right back in. They're forcing their own people right inside the box again. You're forcing the people right inside the box. When you tell them, oh, well, we still supposed to be Moorish science, or we supposed to be Nation of Islam, or whatever, or Ansar, or whatever you're doing, you stand in the way of the evolution of the people. You stand in the way of the next teacher to come. Because you got hung up on men and you got personality driven. You're standing in the way of what they came to do, because their whole point was to teach what they came to teach and move on to something else, or have someone else come and teach. Every teacher is supposed to come and advance the way of thinking. If that's not happening, if we're not receiving the peace, or as we have always supposed to have received the peace in order to get the mind, in order to start receiving intelligence, then y'all standing in the way of the reception. You understand? You're slowing down the reception. Everything that Noble Drew Ali and them came and taught was in vain. Dr. York, down with Elijah Muhammad, was in vain, because y'all still trying to keep the teachings that they taught alive. And they already taught that we were supposed to take those lessons and move on. But y'all got caught up on them. It's not about them. God sent them. You understand? God sent them. And God will send more to advance the people. It's not about those people. You got caught up on people. When minute you get caught up in the teachings of people who have came and gone, that means that you have disconnected yourself from the mind of God. Right? Nothing is new to you anymore. When you start saying things like there's nothing new under the sun, that's a sign that you are mentally dead. That would have been the same mentality of the people who was hanging around before, who just maybe first generation off the slave plantation. When somebody like Noble Drew Ali came and he was teaching about Islam and something new for our people, at that time, those people were about, oh man, I don't want to hear that because there ain't nothing new under the sun. Oh, I'm just about Jesus. I don't want to hear that. Or the same people that did the same thing when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came. Oh, ain't nothing. I'm just going with Jesus. I just know I don't want to hear nothing about no Allah and man being. I sound crazy. Or when Dr. York came and wrote all them books and whatnot, and was breaking down Islam and all that, and it couldn't be refuted. Yet y'all hated on Dr. York because you didn't like the fact that he was adding something and bringing something new to the table, things that you couldn't refute. You wouldn't challenge him in an open debate or forum or ask him anything or write anything on him, but you would just slander because y'all fell in love with men. That was the problem. You wasn't listening to what was being said out of these men's mouths or what they was trying to lead the people to, that it was always supposed to be about the evolution of the people, not about these men. But that's what happens when you personality driven and you disconnected from God. You start saying stupid things like there is no God. The black man is God and whatnot. Okay, yeah, the black man is an extension of God. The black woman is an extension of God, but y'all are no longer extensions of God. Why? Because you have become extensions of man. You have become extensions of man. You have become extensions of the white man. You're no longer extensions of God. Why? Because you're not doing anything to change your life. You're not opening the door to bring in anything new. If you're constantly repeating the same things over and over and over again from your customs and your teachings and your doctrines, I don't care if it's Moorish science, I don't care if it's NOI, whatever, answer Allah, whatever, you repeating those things that have already been taught. And you can't knowing you can't take them no further and altering the lives of our people, then you are disconnected from the mind of God. Because if you were connected to the mind of God, then you would be doing things to alter the way your people live. You would be doing things to alter your life. You can't even change your own life. You still doing the same things. You understand that? You still sitting up here waiting for the white man to obey some treaties and some laws and give you some land. Are you serious? It's not going to happen. But our people don't want to face that. Our people join these things because they believe that somehow they're going to get something. That's what happens when you disconnect from the mind of God and you stop looking into the future, and you then start focusing on the present and the white man, because he seems as though he's in power when he is not in power. He was put in power. Just like he can be taken out of power. Just like you were put in power and you ruled the world for thousands of years, and you were taken out of power once you disobeyed the mental order that went out, which was to put our people in a state of evolution and disconnect themselves from everybody else here in the world. We fell off and we disconnected ourselves from the code of conduct which we were supposed to be governing ourselves by. That's why we are no longer in power. We disconnected ourselves from God, which is the future intelligence of man. And we started mixing our seed with those people around us and adopting their customs and things like that. After that, we fell out of power. We fell out of power right after that. That was the end of us. That was our doom. That was our downfall. And things like treaties and governments and working out deals, that's not going to get us back to where we got to go. That's not going to get us forward to anything. I know a lot of our people would like to believe that, but it's not reality. Why? Because when ᴛᴜᴜ was trying to do that, when he was talking about the Moorish customs and codes and the governing and how we know and the knowing of all these things and whatnot, it never got him anywhere, and I did it. It all sounded nice, the law and all that sounded nice. But like I said, you don't even see any Moorish neighborhoods. You don't see any Moorish schools. You don't see any Moorish bakeries. You don't see any Moorish anything on a big scale or level. Why? Because when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came after ᴛᴜᴜ, you was able to start seeing the Muslims take it to another height. So that represented an evolution in the teaching of ᴛᴜᴜ, that he came, that was something greater that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did. Now, I'm not saying that ᴛᴜᴜ wasn't great, but his teaching and his dealing with the white man thinking that the codes and things or the treaties and all that was going to work, it obviously didn't work. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came on the scene, right, Fard and them came on the scene, and they start talking about do for self, and you actually start seeing the Nation of Islam excelling and doing for self and building up a nation and things like that, you obviously seen that the only way, the obvious answer to that was the only way we're going to get anything done is to do it our damn self and not wait on the white man to do it or not wait on some treaties or anything. That was obvious. The only way we was going to get anything done was by doing it ourselves. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad showed us that that was a sign from God that he was using as that instrument to show us. But see, a lot of our people didn't want to get that part. A lot of our people didn't miss that. That's why a lot of our people are walking around today calling themselves Moorish science or more, and they still talking about some laws and some treaties and being sovereign citizens and whatnot, and it's not happening for our people. Talking about we need our own government, we need our own land. Y'all can't even govern your own houses. You don't even have a Moorish neighborhood. Where are your Moorish businesses at? before you start talking about a government and all these other things, you got to have your house in order locally. Meaning that wherever black people are as Moors, y'all supposed to be massed into a group or into a populace collectively and building stores and communities and things like that. Same way Dr. York did. Same way the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did. See that? They were able to do that. Now, the fact that those things fell with these men, as things went on and things fell, that was just a sign that something else was supposed to come in. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught for over 40 years, when Dr. York came and taught and did what he did, and those things basically faded away, that was a sign that new things were supposed to come. New teaching was supposed to come. A new intelligence. A new way to do things was supposed to come. But a lot of our people, because you got hung up on these people, you didn't want to move on. You didn't want to move on collectively. Right? And Dr. York and them always said, he said that he was preparing the way for somebody else. He said that out of his own mouth. Talked about that person would come with that special teaching or something that would be taught, something that would be special from everything else. So obviously he understood that it was supposed to be an evolution, that every teacher has his turn. But a lot of y'all don't get it. A lot of you in the Moorish science, a lot of you guys in the NOI, a lot of you guys in the Wapians, y'all don't get it. You understand? That this thing is supposed to be evolving. It's supposed to be about the evolution of a people, not about men. Because men come and go. God erects men to be teachers, and he takes them down. That's real. That's not disrespecting anybody's name. It's not disrespecting Noble Drew Ali, not disrespecting Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Dr. Malachi Z. York. I love all of those men. I look to them all as mentors. But we have to understand after a time, it starts to be about the evolution of a people. You understand? And not about a man, not about putting men on pedestals and whatnot, not about keeping men in, keeping their keeping them up forever, or keeping their teachings going forever, because their teachings were not meant to be forever. Their teachings came through them, not from them. I said there was a difference before. I said you got knowledge that comes from people, and you got knowledge that comes through people. The knowledge that comes from people is the knowledge where these Negroes take different fragments and bits and pieces of information from here. They take something from metaphysics. They take a little something from NOI. They take a little something from Freemasonry. They take a little something from Sumeria, cuneiform. They take a little bit of everything from somewhere. You understand? And they incorporate it. That's what you call BS teachings. That's what you call fragmented BS teachings. From Negroes who just want to be leaders. They're not genuine leaders, because God makes genuine leaders. Not men. God makes genuine leaders. When I say God, I'm talking about the supreme intellectual being, one who is more advanced than us. And if you Negroes want to sit up here and talk about, oh, it ain't nobody more greater than us, ain't nobody more advanced than us, yeah, it is. Because if it ain't, then get yourself out of bondage. Since you the all-powerful, omnipotent, omnipresent God, and you taking that place, get your damn self out of bondage in your people. Or sit down and just admit you ain't there yet. Sit down and admit that we're supposed to be moving in an evolution toward that we're not there yet. Because as long as you keep on saying that you're there, you're never going to get there, because you think you're there. You're not there. Because if you were there, which is really no such place, you're constantly supposed to be moving. There is no destination point. This is a steady, straight movement forward. If you were even on that path, you wouldn't be under the white man. Don't tell me you God and you under the white man. I'm going to keep saying that. That's going to always be the thing. I don't want to hear the black man talking about he God and you still under the white man. You still following his laws and his orders and statutes and commandments, and your woman got to run to the police when he runs to the court when she's trying to get you for child support and things like that, or you under these guidance and these bylaws of these people. You understand that? When you're not in control of society. No, the ancient Nubians, the ancient Kemites, and them, those were gods, because they controlled their own, they governed their own societies. They governed their own societies for thousands of years. Those were gods in flesh. Those were people who were tuned into God. These are the people that your Freemasons, that your Moorish science, that your Nation of Islam, that your American government were following. Our people, when they were in their God state. We're not in our God state now, but we're trying to get forward to that now in the state of mental. It's time to stop playing. See, this is the second part of the evolution, the mental evolution right here, with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was talking about when our people were mentally dead, meaning that you were mentally disconnected from God. So therefore, you cannot be God. When Dr. Malachi York wrote that book in 1967, The Mind, so he started touching on the mind before he even started teaching Islam. But a lot of our people missed it. A lot of our people missed that. Because it's not in the doctrine. Where they say that in the teachings? They ain't say that in the teachings. Or you pick and choose what you want to listen to. Or you hear what you want to hear. Because you want to follow the customs of somebody else because you're not in tune with God. You're in tune with men. If you really are in tune with God, then you can hear God's wisdom and God's intelligence coming out of the mouths of men. You heard that coming from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You heard that coming from Dr. Malachi York. You heard that coming from out of the teachers of ᴛᴜᴜ. Certain other people, you don't hear that from. You don't hear that from certain other people. You hear people who just want to be leaders and people who just want to make money or be impotent. You know what I mean? They want to be impotent. You know, I said the old Negro way, impotent. That's all. That's what you hear in most of these teachers of today. These are people who want to be important. They want to make money. So they're going to lie to the people and mislead the people. Or they're going to keep these people going in the same teachings and doctrines so they can keep money coming into their pockets. Because that's all it's about now. It's not about the evolution of the people. It's not about God raising the people to a state of intelligence. Because you can't sit up here and tell me our people have not fell out of connection with God. If you look at our people today and you look at our people back then in ancient Egypt when we ruled the world, who brought that down except our people? Who disconnected themselves from that higher state? But our people. Who broke the laws of God? Who broke the codes and conduct of God that He gave us to follow? When those gods came here as men, well-made men. You understand? In physical form. When they came into this atmosphere and they were governing and telling our people and teaching our people how to build the pyramids and do these things. Our people didn't just receive that intelligence on their own. They had it generated into their head. They had images and intelligence generated into their head. Now, I know that sounds crazy to a lot of you people who caught up in those teachings of the past because you're disconnected from God. Oh, brother, that sounds crazy. Why? Because the white man didn't say it? Why? Because the men you idolize and worship didn't say it exactly that way. But if you look at how they taught and how they lived their lives, they was living exactly the words I'm teaching now. As we putting the puzzle together, as we are really looking at their lives, because the only way you're able to look at the lives of the people who came in the past is by moving in the future. That's the only way you'll be able to see clearly what they were trying to do. But if you try to go back to what they were teaching and getting in that realm and in that mind space, you'll never understand it. It's the same principle of pulling back in order to focus, pulling back and moving back away so you can focus more than if you're going to pull in closer to focus on it. You can't really see that clearly because you're right there up on it. But as you pull back, you can see more. You understand? As you pull back, you can see more. You know? They was preparing our people for this mental transformation that we are now starting to go through in the state of mental. Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Dr. Malachi York, even Noble Drawley was preparing our people mentally for this transformation that we are going through. But a lot of their people, a lot of their followers didn't get it. But the people who are in tune with God, the people who are true God bodies, not people, not a bunch of Negroes who calling themselves gods, but doing the same thing, who ain't living that. But the true God bodies, the true people who are walking in physical form as God, they understand what's being said here. They understand the language. They understand the reception. They comprehend it. They have an ultra-standing of the reception that's coming through right now. The people who are not, this is not for you. You're mentally dead. You're caught up on men. That proves that you're mentally dead. Why? Because men always eventually die a physical death, but God lives forever. See, that's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad will live forever. That's why Noble Drew will live forever. That's why Dr. Malachi York will live forever. And why Nuben Menkaris will follow them and living forever, because we were in tune, or we are in tune with the true and living God. Amen. We bear witness to that. You go Allah, all these other things, all these hidden names, all you want to, but it don't sync up with the teachings of Islam. What they taught didn't sync up with the teachings of Islam. That's real. I'm going to play a little bit of music. What do I want to play? Closer to You, Jimster. We'll be back. Just like the pharaohs represented God on earth as leaders to their people, the representatives of God on earth, so did these men. Noble Drew Ali was like God on earth to his people. Why? Because he was receiving life-giving intelligence, things that was helping them in the future, new things that was new to them at the time. He was giving them life-changing intelligence. Right? Same thing with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. People say, oh, it was Fard. Fard was God in person. Fard was God in person, this, that, and the third. Yeah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad thought that. But like I said, obviously he didn't think that by about 30 years into the 60s when he wrote Message to the Black Man. He no longer thought Fard was God no more. He couldn't have. That's when the language changed from Fard is God to Fard was God. Fard came in the person of God. Right? Because I always said that Fard was the messenger and Elijah was God in person. Why I say that is because he was given the message. He just gave Elijah the message and the structure, passed it on, from Noble Drew to him, right? To Fard, from Noble Drew to Elijah, because Noble Drew passed away, right? And he didn't get a chance. Elijah didn't get a chance to meet him. So what did Fard do? He passed on a lot of the teachings from Noble Drew Ali to Elijah Muhammad as it was meant to be. So I said Fard was actually the messenger because he passed a message from Noble Drew on to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, from one God who used a messenger to the next God. Understand? Because God is the one who does the work. God don't come and stay around for 3 years and then leave. That's not God. That's a messenger. What does a messenger do? He comes, leaves a message, he gives a message and leaves. That's what Fard did. Elijah stayed and did the work for 40 years. That was God in person. He just had to pass him that message and wake him up to let him know that he was God. Because the black man is what represented a sleeping God. You understand? All you black men and black women represent sleeping gods. That's what you are. Some of you are dead gods. Some of you are mentally dead gods. Some of y'all ain't going to wake up. That's a reality. Some of you are not going to receive the reception of God. You understand? Elijah came and did the work. And it came and it passed on to Malachi York. Right? Because he came and he said himself he was the successor to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he was. Because nobody taught more about Islam and religion and things like that, brought new knowledge out about these things that we didn't have previously, like Dr. York. Whether you want to say, oh, he got this from here, he got that from there, he got that from there, I can't tell, because all you people that claim he got this from there and got that from there and with it here, then why didn't you ever come up and stand up against him and say that then? Why wasn't you teaching it if that was the knowledge from before? Why wasn't you teaching it? A lot of people, like I said, they got a lot of hate and envy and anger and jealousy in them. They don't want to see our people move forward, and they don't want to see our people being celebrated for something they wish they could do. You understand? That's a trait of our people, jealousy, envy, and anger that we picked up from this submental state. And we don't want to see the evolution of a people. We don't want to see new teachers come, because that's why we say stupid things like there's nothing new under the sun, because we don't want to see new teachers come. We don't want to see new teachers teach new things, because y'all not ready to move on, because y'all slow, because y'all in remedial class, because you want to keep repeating the things over and over and over again and whatnot, living your life like that because you don't want to change, because change scares the hell out of our people. That's why they uphold a lot of these teachings. They uphold these teachings because they're afraid to change, because their minds are not linked in for change. They like things the way they are, but that's not real. You understand? That's not real. God is change. God is constant change and evolution. If you're not evolving and changing, then you're not in tune with God. You hear in the way these men spoke, and you hear the tone and the frequency of their voice that a God-like power was going through these people. You hear it. And you know, based on what they say, what they're saying is based in logic, because when the white man came and these people came, and the Arabs, they come with religion, they come with all kinds of philosophy and concepts that don't make no sense. But the men who are coming from God, these are the men who are bringing logic and common sense to the intelligence. They're bringing logic and common sense to these things that man previously gave that we didn't understand. Then Elijah Muhammad make it plain. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad made it plain about who and what God is. He made it plain. Right? Noble Drew Ali made it plain. Dr. Malachi York damn sure made it plain. They didn't sugarcoat nothing. They didn't beat around the bush. They didn't have this spooked out conceptual philosophy of man. They didn't have that. They explained what they meant in layman's terms, in real terms, in logical terms. I was listening to something Elijah Muhammad, an old speech of Elijah Muhammad a couple of nights ago, and it just amazed me, how on point he was about so many things. It made sense. That's how you know that the intelligence of God was flowing through him. Fard didn't have his hand up Elijah Muhammad back like a puppet. You can't teach a man logic and common sense. And that's a sad thing that the Nation of Islam does when they sit up here and try to make it seem like Elijah Muhammad, everything he knew and everything. I'm not saying they all do it, but a lot of them tend to do that where, they make it seem like he didn't have any intelligence on his own without Fard. Fard passed a message along, but Elijah evolved on his own. Elijah started talking. He was talking about spaceships and things like that, meeting God and all this other stuff. So at one point Elijah was saying that there is no afterlife. So, but if you're talking about spaceships and other worlds and things like that, then you are talking about another world. You are talking about afterlives. After this one, that there's something more. You understand? You are talking about that. You might have said something earlier that you're not saying, that you didn't say later on, that you changed and said later on that you started to evolve and changing your way of thinking. You understand? When a man's able to change his mind onto something higher or come onto something higher, then that's an evolution in the mind of this man. That's God evolving the mind of this man. But a lot of our people are not evolving who are stuck in these teachings. You understand? They're not evolving. They still walking around with beards all over their face and feathers on their heads. Man, look, we done moved on. God is not dealing with that. Y'all still following the customs of men. You still following the dead customs of men. And you trying to breathe life back into that because you looking at those men at the time, how they was doing things, and you figure they were successful. So maybe if I mimic what they was doing at that time, then maybe I'll be successful. It don't work that way. And y'all don't get it. You could put on all the red tar bushes and feathers you want to. You could sit up here and grow hair all over your face all you want to. Your woman could dress in all kinds of emas and robes and feathers on she want to. It's not going to work. Because that was for that time. That teaching was for that time. We're in another time. This is why you have time zones. This is why you have dimensions and things like that. We're in another dimension. And y'all are caught in the past dimension. Y'all caught in a different time zone. That would have been good back then, but we're not doing that now. We on to something else, but y'all just not ready to let that go. So maybe your children, you understand, who a lot of you have lost touch with because you don't know how to come into today. You don't know how to come into logic of today, intelligence of today, nor are you looking for logic and intelligence today from God. You're looking from the customs and the ways people used to do things back in the days 30, 40, 50 years ago, and you're trying to find power in that by trying to copy and redo these things. You're not getting any power from that. Your lives are not changing. You understand? Certain knowledge comes to people to change them for that time. When that time is up, then that knowledge is no longer applicable. But y'all don't want to hear that. That knowledge is no longer applicable. You can't apply it any longer because you heard it, you done it, and that's it. Now what? That's like sitting up here and saying you in the first grade and, oh, I don't need to go to the second grade. I don't need to go to the third grade. I don't need to go to the fourth grade, the fifth grade. I don't need to keep going because I'm good with what I got in the first grade. That's how life works. That's how school works. These men come for a certain period of time, 40 years to be exact, to teach what they had to teach. Now after that, somebody else comes. And the people who are around, who are born at that time, they're supposed to be following the next person. This is supposed to be an evolution. But like I said, our people don't understand that. They don't get that. So they get turned off by that. You understand? Our people get turned off by it. They'll listen, and they'll make smart comments later when they hear broadcasts like this. And, oh, he don't know what he talking about because that's not what the messenger taught. That's not what noble Jew taught. That ain't what the father taught. They'll say stuff like that, but they won't. They can't come out and just, pick the phone up and call. Pick it up and call. If anything I said was wrong, I can back up everything I'm saying based in logic. See, they won't do that. They'll just sit up here and cause confusion and sit up here and be demons, and because they don't want nobody to advance and evolve, because they're not evolving, because they done disconnected themselves from God's mind, the mind of God, because they are ego-driven and personality-driven, and they want you to be like that. They want you to keep going in the rotation, repeating the same lessons over and over and over and over again, trying to do the same thing. It's like a bunch of damn robots. God is not dealing with robots. God is not dealing with a bunch of repetitive people. God is dealing with free-thinking, intelligent, logical people. That's who he sends intelligence to. Not to a bunch of people that's sitting around here repeating the same things over and over and over again. What the hell is the matter with y'all? Have y'all lost your minds? Obviously. That's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said when the black man was mentally dead. You understand? That's what he meant. People sitting up here following the same codes and customs and whatnot and trying to get something from these people's customs and rituals and practices, and you trying to breathe life and power into that. That has nothing to do with you. That's something they developed over time. That's rituals and customs they developed. Has nothing to do with our people. Has nothing to do with you in this day and time. Their gods have nothing to do with us. Their messiahs and their Jesuses have nothing to do with us. That's their gods. That's their messiahs. That's their Jesuses. They have nothing to do with us. You understand? We're supposed to be governed by a whole different set of principles, codes of conduct, and values. We are a totally different people. We're not a part of the human family. We are a totally different race of people. We are a totally different race separate from the human race. That's what your racism is really about. The God race is separate from the human race. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was talking about when he said the black man was God. So if you're saying the black man is God, then you can't be human. Duh. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the black man was God. Dr. York said the black man was God. Is God a human being? No, he is not. So then you ain't human. They were saying our people are not part of the human race. That was their way of saying that. God would be another species altogether different from man, from the human. Now we saying it in the state of mental in this day and time that our people are not part of the human race. We're saying in this evolution of God that our people are the almond race, not the human race. See, this is the evolution of God. You understand that? This is the evolution of God. The evolution of God is supposed to be a recognition or an intelligence and an epiphany that's opening up in the minds of men, that God is opening up in the minds of men who are moving forward, in the minds of women who are moving forward. That's what God is coming out in man. That's God in the person of man, meaning God's intelligence in the person of man. Not no spook, not no spirit, but an actual, real, living God. A man, a so-called black man who came here in physical form and walked in and out of time. That's real. An advanced one. And for you simple-minded Negroes who step here and say, oh, that ain't real, brother, that's spookism, that's spooky, then to stop saying the black man is God. Because God can do anything. Or God has the knowledge to do anything. If you don't acknowledge that that's real, and I'm not saying believe it, acknowledge it as real as God can walk in and out of this atmosphere whenever he wants, in and out of time zones, then stop saying the black man is God, because you really don't believe that. Nor do you acknowledge that to be the truth. Because what the hell is God to you? Some nigga that's just standing around in the corner reading a bunch of lessons or reciting some Quran over and over and over again, the book of some religious man? Give me a break. Give me a break. God is much greater than that, and we're supposed to be greater than that. We're supposed to be following and understanding these things and evolving into that God-like race of people. Advanced more than man. But see, this is going to fall on deaf ears to the mentally dead. You understand? And the mentally dead are those people who are still following those ways and those customs, who have not moved forward. That's what the mentally dead is going to be about. See, a lot of our people, like I said, when you get personality driven, you miss the intelligence of God. That's what happens when our people get personality driven. You know? You get people who didn't understand that this teaching was supposed to make our lives better and evolve our way of thinking. How we ate, how we thought, clean us up. You understand? That's what it was supposed to do. But a lot of our people missed it. We missed the boat. You know? We wanted to run to foreigners. We wanted to run to the Arabs, our former slave catchers and masters. We wanted to run to the Arabs, to the white man, everybody else, to try to find the meaning of God. Ain't that what y'all did in Islam and Orthodox Islam? You ran to them to follow the customs of Muhammad. So you wanted Muhammad's sloppy seconds on what he said God was. Some man that lived 1,400 years ago. You're going to go by what he said, because he had supposedly had some connection with God, some epiphany, or God talked to him. Right? So you went with that based on what he said. You know, you didn't try to form your own connection with God or start moving in that mindset of becoming a God-like person. And that's done by action. That's not done by words. See, our people want to be God by words, not by actions. Or you don't really want to be. You want to follow the concept of some other man. You want to follow the concept of a man. And concepts of men don't make sense. That's how you know they come from men. Concepts of men don't make sense. God always makes sense. God, whatever comes from man or through man, from God, will always make logical sense. You understand that? It can't be made up. There's no such thing as anything being made up. Even the people that tell lies, all they're doing is taking fragments of truth from other places and mixing it together. But there's no such thing as a lie, an out-and-out lie. You're taking fragments of truth from someplace else and mixing them together. Now, technically, that would be called a lie, but it still has bits and pieces of the truth. That's why you find bits and pieces of truth in Islam. You find bits and pieces of truth in Christianity. You find bits and pieces of truth in Judaism or the Israelitism, but you'll never find the total truth because it's too mixed up and too adulterated with fragments of truth from other places and philosophies and things from men that they leave out because they want to do their own thing and they don't like certain things about the truth, so they'll take certain things out or they'll conceal certain things, right? Because they'll slow down the evolution of the people by doing that, because they don't like how certain things sound. They want to slow people down so they can remain in power and be teachers and whatnot. That's why they do that. You see, when you don't tell people what they want to hear, you understand? When you don't tell people what they want to hear, they turn off real fast. You know, that's like I said, that has become a real problem with our people. Why they've been taken out of contact with God. Why they've been taken from the intelligence of God. Now people, when they hear the word God, they think automatically religion. God, Elijah wasn't teaching Fard or Dr. Malachi. They wasn't teaching, and Noble Drew wasn't teaching God as a religious man. They was teaching God as a future man, if you paid attention. Something that we could all become through time, through knowledge, through intelligence, through reception, that we could all become God. Through focus, through reception, through intelligence, through opening yourself up to receive future intelligence. But a lot of our people don't get that. Like I said, a lot of our people are terrestrial, earthbound in their mindset. They're just like the human being. They become like the human. They become lowly like the creature and the creation. So they desire the same things as the creation, as the creatures, your human race. When you were supposed to be God-like beings. Like I said, if Elijah Muhammad said you were gods, that the black man is God and that the white man is a devil, or that these people were separate from you, right? That you were actually God, then that means you couldn't be the same thing they are. How can y'all all be human? How can you all be the same? God is not human, so if you God, then you can't be human. You can't be of the same race. You can't be of the same species. Race was not denoting color. Race was talking about a whole different other species. You understand? Because your East Indians are human, yet they are not the same color as the white man. They're a darker shade of the white man, but they are part of the human race. They have the same type of hair or fur. They have the same type of facial features and structure. You understand that? So they are all part of the same race. So it doesn't denote color or complexion. We are a totally different species of people, from the hair on our head to the tone of our skin and the coating of carbon on our skin. Right? Not melanin, but carbon. Your East Indians have melanin. We have carbon. Right? There's a difference. Melanin is a water-based derivative of carbon. Right? That's why you can look at the East Indian, they got brown skin, but you notice their skin complexion is not the same as ours. But they are people of quote unquote color. But they got a brown complexion to them, but they don't look the same as you and us. Why is that? Because that's an artificial coloring. That's an artificial coloring. Ours is a carbon coating. This is a coating on our skin. This is an electromagnetic pull on our hair, a levitational lift, not a gravitational pull that governs us and our hair. You understand that? We are a different species and race. And this is what we were coming into and learning in the knowledge of intellect, which was following the knowledge of those past mentors of mine. This is a new evolution and a higher teaching of God to a people who are supposed to be the elect. But to the people, like I said, who are only tuned into these people here, to the white man and everything else, where everything out their mouth is the white man this, or treaties with the white man, or white man this and white man that, and it's not about the supremacy or the evolution of our people. The bright races, we refer to them, the elect. You're not going to get this. This is going to sound strange to you. It's going to sound foreign to you. You're going to discard it because y'all are of here. You are not gods. This is God talk. This is God talk. This is future talk. This is future evolution talk. That's why the majority of our people are not going to get it. It'll sound crazy to them because it ain't saying what Elijah said. It ain't saying what this person said. It ain't saying what that person said. It don't sound like what they were saying. What he talking about? But the people who are tuned into God, who have common sense, which I refer to as chosen sense now, because it's not so common anymore. The people who are logical thinkers, the people who think outside the box, who can let their minds go there and hear the logic and what's being said, they acknowledge what it is I'm saying is true. That's all that's needed. That's the elect. That's talked about in the book of Revelation, not the majority of our people. Majority of our people are following man. They're following mankind, a.k.a. the white man, the Arab man, the East Indian, all these other people of the human race. They're not following God. Therefore, they will not become gods on earth. That day of reckoning is coming, people. God is supposed to be the future guide of man. It's what man and woman are supposed to be evolving into as a race of highly capable, intelligent people. People who are using more of their brain power. People who are advancing in their thoughts, because inside of us is a supreme intellectual being. In some of us, there is a supreme being inside of most of us. Within the elect, within our DNA, is a supreme being an advanced being, a celestial being that's waiting to come out. And the majority of our people, there is nothing. That's why they'll sit up here and say, "Oh, that sounds crazy. It's a little out there." But then why are you even saying the black man is God? Why are you even saying that? Because God is not like everybody else. If God is just a regular man, then you might as well just call him a man. When you say God, you're talking about a supreme being, somebody who's doing more than regular man. If you're not doing more than regular man, then you're not a God. If you're not doing more than the average man out here, if you up here like I told a lot of you guys who was calling yourself gods in the 5%, if y'all up here doing what everybody else doing, you understand? If you up here, and that's anybody, I'm not just getting on the 5%, I'm talking about anybody. I'm talking about you Egyptology people, you Negroes out here who talking about I'm God and whatnot. You ain't no different than these Negroes out here who just out here selling drugs, smoking weed, going to work 9 to 5, doing something. You just like them. You ain't no different. Because if you're supposed to be God, you're supposed to be governing yourself by a higher set of principles and doing more than the average person. That's what's supposed to make you God. Not I'm God just because I'm black. You understand that? Then the African is God. Everybody's God then. If you're supposed to be God, then you're supposed to be doing something operating on a higher principle than regular men. Or else why call you God? You want to be called God because you want to be thought of as being supreme. You want to be thought of as being more in knowledge, wisdom, and capabilities than the average man. That's why you even took on the terminology or the title of God and called yourself that. But if you're not doing that, if you're not living up to that, if you know you going to work at the 9 to 5 every day, you smoking weed, you smoking cigarettes, you getting drunk, you understand? Or doing whatever the hell you doing, you ain't taking care of your children, whatever you doing, then you're not a God. You're not even a man. You're not even a man. You understand that? Don't sit up here and don't even, like I said, don't even call yourself. Don't do it to yourself. Because the only one that believes that is you. The only one that believes that is you. You understand that? We're supposed to be in a state of maturity right now. Advancing. Mentally advancing. You know? We're supposed to be mentally advancing. We're supposed to be mentally advancing and maturing as a people. That's what the whole purpose of those men coming here was for. They were supposed to be our school teachers. They were supposed to be our trainers, our evolutionary God-like school teachers. That's what these men are. You understand? Sent with the intelligence from God to evolve a people who have fallen away from the connection of God. You understand? A people who have fallen away from the connection of God. Amen. We have fallen off. You understand? We have disconnected ourselves. There is no Most High to reach for anymore because we sitting up here now. It was the time we said the Most High. Now we don't say the Most High no more. We say ain't no such thing. We the Most High. Oh yeah? If you the Most High, then I want to check out right now. You understand? I'm checking out right now. If y'all niggas the Most High, I'm checking out right now. If this the best you could do as God on this plane, and that's basically smoking weed, sitting around trying to get in some chick pants, smoking cigarettes, getting drunk, doing whatever, you going to parties, that's what God do? That's God? Or standing around reciting saying the same thing over and over again, the same principles, the same books, the same lessons, the same thing. That's what God do? And like I said, this ain't a shot at the 5% nation. This is everybody that's doing that. You know, we have to chastise each other for us to make ourselves better. See, the black man can't get sensitive now, you understand? Because when we was up under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he chastised the hell out of us. He chastised the hell out the black man. Noble Drew chastised the black man. Marcus Garvey chastised the black man. Dr. York damn sure chastised us. But there was power in that. We needed our asses kicked. We needed to get the wake-up call. See, because what happens with this God thing is when you start calling yourself gods and whatnot, you get this idea, you get this narcissistic mindset going in yourself where you start thinking, oh, well, I'm God, I'm good. You know, you sound just like the simple-minded Christian Negroes who be when you say something to them about God. Oh, I'm all right. I'm saved. Oh, I'm saved, and I'm going to church. I'm saved. Saved from what? Them niggas, a lot of them be gay as all outdoors and whatnot, doing what they want to do. In other words, I got an excuse. I can keep doing what I want to do and whatnot, and I don't have to have any judgment. Nothing has to come over me. I just keep doing what I want to do. Them people are mentally dead. They not saved or connected to anything. You so-called saved people. You know different than you Negroes who call yourself God. If you're not living that out, if you're not bringing anything new, if you're not changing the paradigm of things or working to change that paradigm of what's going on here with our people or taking charge of your household, whatever, taking responsibility, then you're not God. You understand that? God does. God don't try. God does. There is no excuse. There's no excuse for the black man not being God in person. Again, there's no excuse. Elijah was God in person because he did the work. But what do y'all Negroes do? You give all the credit to Fard. That proves that you connected to the image of a man. You're not connected to the power of God. Because if you was connected to the power of God, you would have saw that in Elijah Muhammad, a black man who stood in front of you. You hung up on some image of some white-looking man who turned around. He came for 3 and some mystery white man who came for 3 years and left. But then y'all talking about y'all don't believe in a spook God. If that's not spooky, I don't know what is. I'm going to just say it like it is. You understand that? You had God right in front of you. You had God's intelligence going through a man who stood in front of you for 40 years. You understand that? The messenger came, who was born on February 26th. God was born 1897, October 7th. You understand that? In the 10th month. Notice the number 10. 10 is a powerful number. Represents a decade. In the word 10, you find the word in. You understand? And the word in means Lord in the old Sumerian tongue. You could find Elijah on the walls. I bet you could look. You'll find his image on the wall with that crown right on his head. That was God in person. He did all the work for 40 years, but you give this man credit who came here 3 years and left. You understand that? That's sad. That's sad. Right? The people who work as instruments of God are the people who stay for 40 plus years and do the work. God stayed for 40 years. Why is that number 40 important? Because God would come, right? The gods would come because that number 40 is a sacred number of God. That number 40. Check it out. The number 40, they tell you, that was Abraham's age when he received his calling. They tell you 40 was Muhammad's age when he received his calling. Not saying that these people actually received the calling or anything. Or, you know, some teachings they taught, but they understood the knowledge and the importance of the number 40. And they linked themselves to it. The Sumerian god Enki, who is really Amen, who came here, a real man. Amen, Enki, it's the same thing. It's the same person. Anu, whatever you're referring to him as, it's the same person. A real black man, so-called black man who walked the earth. His number was 40. And the Masons know that. They know that. They know it's not no mythological God. They know this is a real man that walked the earth. That's why they showed you Morgan Freeman as God. Wake the hell up. They put him in a white suit. You understand? Sarah Silverman, Jewish chick, showed God as a black man in a white suit. You don't see the correlation? What do they know that you don't? What are they acknowledging that you are not, that you don't see? When they put God in that white suit, that showed you that God is evolving. That's why they put him in a white suit of today, that he has evolved. He wasn't in no white robe. He wasn't in no crown. He wasn't walking around floating. He was walking around in a suit talking to people, white suit, representing a clean slate. All that means something, but our people don't pay attention because you're so caught up on people, on men. You're not looking at the messages. You're not paying attention. All that means something. Right? That's the sad thing about our people. We're not going to get it, or we're going to get it too late. We are in the mental part of this game now, people. It's no longer any more information. The information age is dead. All that reading up on what Noble Drew said, what Elijah said, and all these other people said, that's already done. That was the peace age. That was the peace age. You understand? Now we're in the mental age. We're in the mind age. We don't went from the age of information and the peace age to the age of intelligence and the mental age of the mind age. Y'all missed it. Y'all just totally missed it. That's why you still trying to consume information that don't do nothing for our people. You still trying to consume information, useless information that has no practicality in your life. Egypt, Africa, the Moors, all this stuff has no practicality in your life. The white man is not doing no deals with our people. He's not giving us anything. So we need to cut away from these teachings that promote handouts. You understand? That give us this nonsense lie that somehow the white man going to look at these treaties and go, oh, okay, damn. Let me give you guys your land. Let me give you guys 40 acres and a mule, 100 acres and a mule, 300 acres and a mule, and four mules, and 520 mules. And let me just give you your own country. Why not? Because you got these treaties and laws. When are we going to stop this madness? When are we going to stop this? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad showed us that the only way we're going to get anything is that we're going to have to do it for ourselves. We can't look for nobody to give us nothing. He was a living example of that. That's why none of that stuff worked for us. You understand? The only way our people were able to get any kind of peace of mind or anything, or exert our power in the world, our mental power in the world, is when we came together and we started getting things together collectively. That's when we started moving forward. Until that time, we sat up here and worried about treaties and sovereignty and things like that, and it has not worked for our people. You understand? It has not worked for our people. It sounded good. It sounded real good. It sounded real nice. But it hasn't worked for our people. All it did was fed us a bunch of lies. Fed us a bunch of false hope. Made us have faith in people that could do nothing for us. You actually, when you go and you ask the white man for anything, as far as things like sovereignty and whatnot, you actually giving him more power. Because you could have went collectively and did things for yourself. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad showed as a perfect example. He showed, and he was living proof, that only way we're going to get anything for ourselves by all those businesses that the Nation of Islam had was to actually get up here and do it yourself and demand that your people give and work to build something better for tomorrow. That's how they did it. It's not going to come from a handout. See, that's that black mentality. It's not going to come from a handout. We're going to have to work, build businesses, and do things clean and use our own intelligence to get what we want in this world. That's real. So we come to the end of our broadcast. I'm going to answer these questions. It'll take 5 minutes to answer these questions because they are pertinent questions. All right? I'll take 5. Answer these questions. Let me kind of answer these questions before we get out of here. January 27th, y'all already know. January 27th, the True God revealed. We're going to be doing that January 27th. Come join the real reception of God. We got to speed this intelligence up, y'all. It's mental time. It's mind time. So why were black people taught Islam in America? We were taught Islam in America through Freemasonry as a tool to bring us back to reality of who we are as a God race of people who were becoming better people, evolving. Islam was meant to be a doorway to something else. It was supposed to be our doorway of peace to getting our mind back together again. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, like I said, he attacked the whole thing of our people being mentally dead. He used Islam as a tool to restore the minds of our people, or work on restoring the minds of our people. That was an ongoing work even beyond the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. All right? That's why we were given Islam, to restore our intelligence, to bring us back or bring us forward in an evolutionary stage. But we were not meant to stay in Islam. We were not supposed to go and stay in Freemasonry, Islam. We was not supposed to stay Moors. We was not supposed to go in, damn sure wasn't supposed to go into Orthodox Islam. But we just always do things backwards, because that's what happens when we don't have forward-thinking people who are guided by the mind of God. We start going off and following substitute teachers, poor substitute teachers who want to take us in the ways of people's customs and ways of beliefs and philosophies, and then we all go off the track. Next thing you know, we Sunni Muslims, we Moors, we Masons. We doing all this stuff we're not supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be carving out our own road as an evolutionary people, a people who are in tune mentally with God. All right? Where were black people supposed to stay in Islam? Like, of course not. Like I said, Dr. York was the nail in the coffin of Islam. That was it. He represented the nail in the coffin, and couldn't nobody challenge what he said when he left out of Islam. Nobody stood up on it. Then they wanted just because the people, after he presented all those facts and all that logical things about Islam and why it was wrong for us to be following, he taught that. We should have logically said, you know what, he's right. We can't ignore this intelligence. You ain't gotta like Dr. York, but you can't ignore the intelligence he brought about Islam and all these religions. We should have walked the hell out. We should have evolved beyond that. But a lot of our people were mentally dead or mentally stiff-necked because they fell in love with men. They fell in love with customs and rituals, which is what you weren't supposed to do. That is against God. God moves on. Was there a reason why black people didn't learn Orthodox Islam from the East? Yeah, it was a reason. It's because it wasn't meant for us. Orthodox Islam from the East wasn't supposed to be for the evolution of our people. That has nothing to do with our people. Sunni Islam and all that has nothing to do with our people. That's Arab customs. That has nothing to do with us. Understand? Our people associate the word Islam with that Islam, and they take it the wrong way altogether. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, their star and crescent pointed to the left instead of the right like the Arabs did. Theirs pointed to the left, showing that they were different from those people. You understand? Because the Islam that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was showing, like dealing with Freemasonic, coming from a Freemasonic principle, which comes out of Egypt. The Moors, all that's following behind the orders of Egypt. All right? Was Islam supposed to lead to something else? Yeah. Islam was supposed to lead to mentellect. I'm going to just say it straight up. All that was supposed to lead to the intelligence of mentellect, the true intelligence of God, the mental connection with God. It was supposed to give us that peace of mind. Mentellect represented the mind. So once we came into a peaceful state and an orderly state, we were supposed to be evolving into mental beings, advanced mental beings. But to a lot of our people, y'all went the way of the Muslims in the East, and y'all became barbaric. Y'all like hair grow all over your damn face and start putting red dye in your beard, and you became barbaric looking. You put on old costumes and you trying to follow some man named Muhammad when you were supposed to be following the intelligence of God. You understand that? That was meant to be a gateway or a door to something higher. We're supposed to be here evolving as a higher race of people. That's what the purpose is. We're not supposed to be following the same submissive customs as these people. That was only supposed to be for a short period of time. Then we were supposed to advance into receiving transmission from God to move us forward. Real messages in real time. But only elect few will get that. Majority of our people are obviously not the elect. Majority of our people are obviously mentally dead. So you're going to keep following the Arabs till you die. And the customs of men. Was Islam meant to be a transitional way of life toward a higher intelligence? Yes, it was. And I said it, mentellect. We were supposed to be receiving Islam until we were able enough to receive mentellect. Because like Dr. Malachi York said, I was preparing you like a bride for something else. Preparing you for a whole different way of life. Preparing us like a bride. He said that out of his own mouth. I'm not making that up. He said that. So if he was in preparation for something else, obviously he was eventually setting us up to follow something else. You understand? Now, certain people want to say what the people are doing over there. Okay, whatever. All right. He said for something else. I remember at the time he didn't say whether he would be bringing to something else. He didn't say that. Because by that time he would have put in his 40 years. All right. So that's it. Come to the end of our broadcast. Join us tomorrow night. It's going to be a good topic. I just wanted to do the special Sunday night broadcast. And thank you for all coming out. Join us January 27th, next Sunday, January 27th, for the True God Revealed. Join the reception, the true reception of God, Amen. The true and living God, Amen. The true and living God, Amen. In the name of Amen, the true and living God, the true supreme power, and his race of beings that he's raised up out of the black race, the Amen race, we continue on in the future intelligence of the true and living God, Amen. So, to that, I say good night. I say peace to you all, and we are out of here. What do I want to play? Okay. Only and always. Good night.
It's the Republic of Mentellect, rising out the black race to the white race, out the black race to the white race. It's the Republic of Mentellect, black race to the white race. If it's hell, then it's hell us. They tried everything just to spell us. Fed us religion, gave us fake gods.